From signing 10,000 death certificates as an ER doctor to nearly becoming one himself, only at the age of 38. Dr. Paul Savage, who's our guest today on the show, he thought he knew medicine, but that wasn't until he discovered that there's an invisible threat affecting every single American and most people around the world. And also, he broke this to me, this blew my mind, that today, there are over 150,000 toxins in our environment. A lot of those actually are inside our homes, inside our offices. He actually said that one of the first symptoms that you see are diseases like cancer or Alzheimer's, and these things that are happening a lot sooner in people's lives. But the thing is, he actually came out of retirement. This guy is an entrepreneur at heart. He's done, 3 startups now, and he actually came out of retirement to solve this problem. And he figured out a way to basically give an oil change to your body to reverse a lot of this stuff. And it's pretty mind-blowing. The stats and the studies that are coming out that show that this is working are blowing a lot of people's minds, and it's really cool. So he talks about how the first thing you got to do is you need to actually make this thing not invisible. You need to test it. You need to get the data. That's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm waiting for my results, but he is giving you the opportunity to do the same. So his company, MD Lifespan, is awesome. I actually work closely with them, so I've got to learn a lot about what they do over the last year or so. And pretty soon I'll share my toxin test results. But he wanted to give you a really great opportunity to get a good chunk of money off on their toxin test and talk package. He's saying everyone's got to get these data points on themselves so you know what you're up against in this world that's very toxic and it's only getting worse. So again, us as entrepreneurs, we're always optimizing everything. You got to optimize yourself. And, I went a little longer right now because this means a lot to me, and I've learned how this can really change a lot of lives. And, my family has been affected by cancers and early, heart issues and things like that have knocked a lot of my loved ones out of life way too early. So do this. This is why I love having Dr. Savage on. This is the second episode he's been on. I think it was about a year ago. So if you want to go learn even more about him, then go check it out on the podcast or over at hustleandflowchart.com. All right. Enjoy the episode here with Dr. Paul Savage. Marketers have never been so spread thin. With all this stuff happening, technology is going crazy. It's really tough to really focus and get creative and create great content or connect with the customers like we used to, or even prospects. So, you're trying to launch a bunch of content campaigns, you're generating leads, you're trying to score the leads, you're nurturing them, so much more, but you really don't have enough time to even breathe, let alone do the best marketing out there. But HubSpot's trying to fix that for you. They have a new AI. It's built into the system called Breeze. So it combines their marketing hub and the content hub with all these different cool features that help you automate and, remix your content into a whole bunch of different types, score your leads in a better way, and actually have a nice look at the analytics and everything that's going on in your business. So I would recommend to stop spreading yourself out so thin and start making some big moves with HubSpot. You can try it out for yourself. Go visit HubSpot.com/marketers to learn more. Hey, before you get into the episode, I urge you to hit pause and go check out the AI Digital Mind. It's like a digital twin of this podcast and a whole bunch of other content I've released. Go to hustleandflowchart.com/AI Joe. It's hustleandflowchart.com/AI Joe. You can literally chat with this podcast with me and my guests in text, audio, and video for free. If you want one of these made for yourself, if you're interested, go to hustleandflowchart.com/interest, and we make these things out. So enjoy. Let's get to the episode. Dr. Paul, how you doing today? I'm happy. We're round 2. It's been far too long. Yeah.
It has, Joe. Thanks for having me on again. I look forward to catching up, and I look forward to talking to your entrepreneurs and giving them some really good sound advice.
You did the last time. You left an impact for me. We talked a little bit, I think, about microplastics then. Now it's become much more of a conversation, just toxins in general, high performance, how we actually are in control of our own being. And yeah, you are doing the work. You're on the front line. You've been on the front lines for, a lot of
For
years.
3 decades now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I
Yelling,
mean,
yelling for 3 decades about protect your health, protect your sleep, manage your stress, clean up your life, clean up your environment. You got to.
well, let's take us back because I doubt everyone's heard the first episode we did, which was great, and I recommend it. It'll be linked up. It'll be
Cool.
easy to find. But take me back to the ER doctor days where you were overwhelmed, you were stressed, you were smoking, you were doing all these things that I know you're not doing now. What
Nope.
was the moment that you had that shift, that change?
Well, coming out of a small Midwestern town and into a big metropolis of Detroit was shock enough. But after having gone through medical school, and I did my training at the world's largest trauma center in Detroit, and it was, it's a war zone. I mean, to be honest, it was the 1980s. Detroit was the mirror capital of the world, and that's where I got my training. And I went on to become the attending at night on some of the largest trauma centers in the world. In the course of 10 years, I signed 10,000 death certificates. It was an intense job. And I really didn't learn a lot of stress management techniques. So I was so into my job that I put everything else in second. I didn't work out because I worked the night shift. I would get home at 8 a.m. and I might have 2 or 3 cocktails to wind myself down. I smoked because I was stressed at work. By the time I finished the 10 years, I'd gone from 150 pounds up to 267 pounds.
Ooh, man. Yeah.
My whole family dies by 65 from heart disease. So at that point, I went to my doctors and he was like, you're really unhealthy. I was like, yeah. He goes, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have a heart attack in the next 7 years if you don't do something different. Forget about making 60, 65. You're never going to get close. And I really took that to heart. And I went, you know what? He's right. And he said the magic words that every doctor says to every patient: you need to eat better and get some exercise.
Yep.
I walked out of his place and I realized in minutes I didn't know how to do that. I was never the sports guy. I was always the book guy, and I never had problems with weight. But in the 10 years, I put on all that weight from all the stress and everything that was going on and not sleeping well and all these different things. I had a laundry list of medical problems by the time I'm 38, including heart disease
38.
and seven different medicines. I was like, I got to do something different. But I literally had to go back to school. I had to find a nutritionist. I had to find an exercise coach. Then I had to find some doctors who would actually educate me on what it means to be health and well, like Andy Weil and Pam Smith, and some of the people have been, Ornish and Pritkins.
Oh, yeah.
I got taught by the best. And and I'm a data aggregator, so that's my whole entrepreneur. Everybody goes, what do you build? Anything that has to do with me using data to make something better. So I took all that information, and my physiologic change in a year was incredible. I lost 70 pounds of fat, put on 30 pounds of muscles, but the most prominent thing was the lights came back on. And that's all I can tell you is up to that point, I was living in a cycle like a hamster, and I'd get up, I'd go to work, I'd do stuff, I'd come home, I'd be tired, I'd go to bed, get up, and I really didn't give a crap about much of anything. It was just work and all work. And I really was unhappy, and I was short-tempered. And I was angry, and I didn't have any relationships that were really bonded to me because I was too much into my work. And through all this process, then I got so much better. I went into the emergency room one day and said, I'm leaving. I'm giving you my notice. And I was a big high position. They're like, what are you going to go do? I said, I'm going to go open a clinic for guys and teach guys how to get healthy. And they're like, insurance doesn't pay for that. I said, no, they're going to pay cash. I'm like, nobody will pay cash for
Good
that.
luck.
Well, and that's the whole thing is I left in early 2000, and by 2006, I had 70 centers nationwide called Body Logic MD, and I was treating guys and women, teaching them nutrition and exercise and hormone replacement and all the things that we knew about that time to get yourself healthy, and I had a great time building it. By the time we got up to 70 centers, my business partner, who was my brother, didn't want to build a software system, and we needed that to grow further. We just didn't have the technology at the point. This was 2007. So I ended up selling my shares to him, and I went out and built a software company. Now, the interesting thing is, in building all the 70 centers, I lost my health again. I got so into the work. I got so into the project. My exercise got pushed out of the way. I pretty much started eating on the fly again. And it wasn't very long until I'm up over 200 pounds, 230 pounds again, and not feeling in great shape. And by the time I left Body Logic, and the Body Logic MD was the name of the company. By the time I left it, I spent about 6 months doing nothing except getting my bearings back to why did I slip up? And
Yeah.
the answer is very, very easy. Mindfulness.
Mhm.
I forgot to keep myself first.
Mm.
And my habit is to always put work first. And I know that's a lot of the guys and a lot of the women out there are doing the same
Right.
thing. They forget there's an order to the universe. And whether you believe in a God or a higher power, let me tell you something. There's something bigger than you. And we can all agree that a community, something's bigger than you, above you. And then there's you. And then there's your family and friends. And then there's work and everything else. And if you don't keep that order in alignment, you're going to get sick. And
Yes.
that's what I did. I put work at the top of the list, and then everything above me. So I got sick again. So I had to go back and reconstruct everything I did before. Luckily, the habits were there. I lost them, but they came back relatively simple as soon as I realized what I was doing wrong, and I got healthy again. And then I went out and built a software company, and we had 6 million users, and I sold that off. Then I went out and built 27 centers more, and I sold those off. And then I retired at 60, feeling pretty damn good about myself, having done a lot in the world of medicine on proving vitamins work, getting steroids out of the steroid act, proving these lab tests for your GI system and the microbiome actually are functional, and you need to know what your gut is if you want to know what you are. And
Mm.
putting all of these things together with 2 university fellowship programs to teach other doctors how to do this, it was an amazing trip. And I thought, I'm going to go retire into Brazil now. I'm going to lie in the sun. I'm going to think of what to do next. And
Yeah.
that's kind of where the story starts.
MD lifespan. That's where we're at now. And it's said behind you. And then I've been doing some work with you, so I do know it quite well. And it's fascinating. When we
Yeah.
first had that first conversation on this show, I didn't know as much, but now and pretty soon I'll be getting the toxin test done, which I know that's something that you offer as well. It's kind of like the
Mhm.
starting point, right? And
Right.
we'll talk about that shortly. I don't want to lead there yet because I want to talk about setting the scene because it seemed
Right.
like you had a shift, in that laying on the beach out there in Brazil, feeling good, eating healthy food, right? Toxin free food for the most part,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
pretty much. And the nutrient value of the food in Brazil is twice as high as that in the United States,
Wow,
because
twice.
they don't use pesticides, they don't use herbicides, they still rotate and burn crops. They do all the right things to keep the ground healthy that we don't do in the United States. We just keep plowing it over and adding ammonia nitrate, and basically we're depleted the soil, which is why it's really the real quick story is when we bought our house and we bought it furnished, but the furnishing of the kitchen was only a pot
Mm,
and 2 forks. That's what we had pots. So we went out to the store because nothing was open, and we bought some chicken. We thought we were going to boil chicken, right? We just boiled the chicken,
mm.
just simple, best flavored chicken you've ever had. I mean, it was years before I'm like, holy shit, we're about looking at each other like, holy crap, this is so good. And
Well, it's
that's
like a
when I
different
just,
color and everything, huh?
well, I mean, it's just, the fact is our eggs in Brazil are orange on the
Yep,
inside. Here they're pale yellow.
it's true.
The
Yeah, yeah,
chicken there is juicy and it tastes like chicken. Here it's kind of like dried cardboard. You
yep.
get a chicken breast and it's like, yeah, it doesn't have really any good flavor to it because we pack all these chickens together. We give them a whole bunch of antibiotics, steroids. Yet in Brazil, they don't do any of that stuff. And
Yeah.
so it's just the difference between the fruits when you put them in your mouth and they explode, and the fruits here, you put them, and it's obvious. But and it happens with every traveler who leaves the United States. If you go to France or any of the European
Hmm.
Union, because they don't use any of the toxins in those in their food chain either, or
Yeah.
South America almost entirely is out of that loop because they don't let DuPont, Dow, Monsanto, any
Yeah.
of those guys in there. And you sit there and you eat the food, and you just realize what a difference has it changed in the last 30 years in the United States.
Yeah.
And food is your best medicine.
Mm.
If you don't have good quality food, you're not doing what you need to do to keep yourself healthy. I mean, that's the first line of therapy against everything bad.
Yeah, every day. And I can relate. I remember going spending some time in Spain, even Morocco had chicken there. Yeah, the eggs are all yellow. The chicken tastes
Yeah.
completely different because it was farmed right there in Moroccan, the
Right.
house and property had cut off
Yeah.
and cooked, and it was amazing. you know,
You can still get that quality food here in the United States, but you have to know where to purchase it.
absolutely.
And one
Yeah.
of the things we'll do is make sure you have a link so that all your readers can come in to get our guides, because we have guidebooks regarding how to clean up your water, how to clean up your food, how to clean up your air, how to clean up your house, how to clean up your consumer products. Because you don't need most people don't need plasma exchange, which we're going to talk about. But what they do need is knowledge.
Yes, yes. That's what took you out of retirement, not to burst the bubble
Yes.
here, but we have a toxin crisis and I've learned it a lot from you, but I mean,
Yeah.
let's just flip on any kind of media at this point. It's being talked about. Big media, small
Constantly.
media, all of the above. So tell me about, I read a stat, and I think it was from you, but also I've checked it in other places. It's like 144,000 different toxins that are in our environment.
We're over 150,000 now in our
Okay.
environment, and
I'm
we're
out of
over
date.
200 billion tons of chemicals dumped in America alone every year.
Jeez. So what?
Taking that number for a minute,
Yeah.
200 billion tons.
2 billion tons. Okay.
200 billion tons of
Wow.
chemicals are used in the United States on our farmlands every year.
And I think it was our last chat. You talked about how it was like the middle of America, but it's expanding out, and it's what you're speaking about
I
there.
mean, if we're talking about the pesticides, herbicides, it started in the Ohio Valley,
Right.
Mississippi Valley, and now it's gone worldwide. If you're talking about the industrial chemicals like the PFAs, that started on the coast and is going inward. So it really depends on which toxin you're talking about on how it got distributed through the United States. But you look at the statistics in the world, most polluted countries, the United States, China, and the UAE are 1, 2, and 3 last.
Hmm.
We're dead last.
So what do we do about that? I mean, that's a loaded question, of course,
Well,
but
I mean, what we have to do about that is get knowledge around so that people start understanding what Stephen Hawking said before he died.
Mhm.
Stephen Hawking was interviewed about a month before he died, and they asked him, "What is the most existential threat to mankind? Is it AI?" And he said, "No."
Hmm.
They said, "Climate change?" "No." "Nuclear war?" "No." "What is it?" He goes, "Pollution and our stupidity to it. And the problem is we passed that milestone 10 years ago." In other
Hmm.
words, he's right. About 2015, things changed. And the level of toxins in our environment came to be such a point that now everybody in America is toxic.
Yeah.
Even the government will admit that when they talk about the forever chemicals. 99% of people have a forever chemical. That's a PFA. PFAs are things that make things non-stick and not greasy. But the problem is, it's a chain of carbon atoms with a fluoride on the bottom. And the thing about it, you can't break it down. That's impossible to break. That's why it makes it so slippery.
Hmm.
And once it's in you, you can't get rid of it. It's forever a chemical in you. And up to this point, even on the CDC website, talking about PFAs, they say there is no way to get them out. The best you can do is avoid putting them in.
Wow.
But there's now 200,000 PFAs in our environment, and that's gone up from 5,000 in the last 4 years.
Oh my gosh.
So
And
we,
it's
so
not slowing down, I would imagine, right? Yeah.
it's actually ramping up, and that's the problem. Is in the next 10 years we're going to double the toxicity of every American. Now, we did a study in Chicago of 500 healthy people between the age of 45 and 70, and we measured their toxins, half women, half men, out of 100 of the most common toxins. Now, get this, we can only measure 100 out of 150,000.
Jeez.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're measuring less than 1/1000th of a percent
Yeah.
of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or sorry, 1/10 of a percent of the whole thing. Um, and the average number of toxins in people 10 years ago was 3.
Hmm.
The average number of toxins per person now is 13 out of 100 that
Yeah.
they have in levels that are considered higher than optimum.
Hmm.
Whatever optimum
Yeah. It's
zero,
a moving
optimum
scale.
zero plus.
Yeah.
These ranges have changed in the last 20 years because every time the government measures this scale, they up the numbers, and now that becomes the normal range. But if we compare the numbers of today from 40 years ago, everybody is like super toxic. That's the part that I'm trying to get out to the message to people is you don't know what toxins you have in you because you know what the first symptom of toxins are?
What is it? Yeah.
Cancer,
Mm,
Alzheimer's,
the first symptom.
heart attack. As your first symptom is a disease.
Yeah, bad one too. Yeah, it just
and a
gets
bad one. I mean, it's like and that's why we're seeing the cancer in the 50-year-olds that we've
Mhm.
never seen before. And these cancer are highly aggressive out of the gate.
Is there a common type of cancer that you're seeing pop up earlier?
The gastric cancers are the
Gotcha.
ones that we started seeing the most. Now, 3 years ago, the government put out a notice that we're starting to see gastric cancers, stomach, esophageal, colon, in people under the age of 50 that we'd never seen before, and they're much more aggressive.
Mm.
There were 4 cancers they listed. The next year, they listed 17 cancers that are much, and this year they're going to be listing about 36 cancers, and the number is going to keep going up
Yeah.
because toxins are inducing every sort of cancer because toxins are by nature carcinogens.
It's almost like there's yeah, I'm thinking of like entrepreneurs like us and the ones
Mhm.
listening, watching. We optimize so much in our life, and that's kind of where we get so sucked into let's make it better or let's solve these
Right,
problems. But this
right,
is an invisible threat that we are living in. We're
correct.
consuming it. It's how do we? It's so hard to overlook this, but we just don't see it. So
That's
I
right.
find it so difficult as well.
That, there's 100%. I mean, 40 years ago, we used to talk about hypertension being the silent killer
Mm,
because people didn't take their blood pressure. People really didn't know.
yeah.
Then we talked about diabetes being the silent killer because people had low grade, because type 2 diabetes didn't exist 60 years ago, really. It's been a phenomenon of the last 60 years, which is probably also linked to the toxins as well. And then we talked about diabetes being the silent killer, but now we know people measure their blood sugar. So the common thread between an unknown threat becoming a known threat is measuring it.
Yep.
And that's what people aren't doing yet. They're not measuring their toxins. If they measured their toxins, then you can act.
So describe how things are measured, because I know MD Lifespan, you and your whole team, you have a test for this, the toxin
Yeah.
test. I know you also have a, I don't know if you even want to, let's describe it, but I also want to quickly just tell people, here's a way to go get it. But lay the scene. What is it? How does it work?
Toxin testing, you can test anything. You can test your saliva, your blood, your urine, your stool, your hair. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. Just make sure that you do a validated lab and you have a repute, and I can list a dozen different ones. Now,
Sure.
we have a test that's listed on our website that gives you 109 different of the most common toxins of the whole spectrum. And we're talking about PFAs, and we're talking about heavy metals, mold toxins, phthalates, phenols, volatile chemicals. You get the whole broad spectrum.
Yeah.
They can do with a simple urine test at home. You get up, you pee in the cup in the morning, you send the tube off. 4 weeks later, you get a report with 110 different toxins.
Got it. I mean, that's easy enough. So maybe
Yeah, you're
I'll
gonna
even
find out.
I know.
You're
I'm
gonna
like,
find out now.
I'm gonna report back. I'll probably time it out. I'll either put it in this episode as an intro or splice it in something. I'll be sharing my results as, as
Yeah.
long as I'm not super frightened by them. Um, I try to live
Well, I
well.
mean,
Yeah.
the average number of toxins in the Chicagoland area was 13, with 5 of them being in the above 95 percentile and 8 of them being in the 75% and above. So anything above 75% is where we start talking about you're in the upper percentiles
Yeah.
of these level of toxins as compared to other Americans in the world or in the United States. But there's a difference also between looking at the various toxins because some toxins are worse than other toxins.
Mhm.
The toxins that are carcinogens and the ones that cause oxidative stress and mitochondrial damage, they're by far the worst. But there's also ones that mess with your hormones. There's ones that burn cellular membranes. There's ones that, there's just a whole, that's why we call them toxins because they're bad. Now, it's really important to understand that 20 years ago, the toxicology world only talked about you had mercury toxic or you had PFA toxics or you had a mold toxin. They never talked about what was there. Were some people back then that were calling about multi-chemical sensitivities, MCS. They're like, yeah, that doesn't exist. Now it's here.
Hmm.
Nobody has just one toxin anymore. Nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody has a dozen or more. And the problem is to get out one toxin, you have to do this, and get out another toxin, you have to do that. And it's a long, laborious, drawn out procedure. And then you have to follow one type of treatment by another type of treatment. And that's what became overwhelming for everybody in the toxicology world is we have this multi-toxic world now with people having multiple toxins. And understand, let me give you a real quick example. Would you rather be attacked by a 5 foot or by a 5 foot guy or by 150,000 3-foot guys?
150,000.
You'd rather have 150,
No doubt.
150 3-foot guys?
Yeah.
No, come on.
No?
You can take out one guy. You're never going to take out
Oh,
150,000
that's
guys.
what I meant. That's what I meant. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just like there's just, and that's what we're dealing with today. We're not dealing with you having one toxin. We're
Yeah.
dealing with you having a little bit of all of them, and that's
Yes.
what everybody has now, and that's what we call a toxic burden. We stopped talking about mercury toxin and mold toxin. What we talk about people now is what's your toxic burden, because a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this and a little bit of this adds up to a lot of crap,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and it all acts synergistically against your body.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And there was never one way to take them all out until we came up with our protocol. And now we have them discovered and patented, and we're branching out. We came up with a protocol that virtually safely, effectively, minimally invasively, and universally removes all toxins. So if you're afraid that you're going to get Alzheimer's because you have toxins, or Parkinson's, we can get rid of them. If you're afraid your DNA is that you're going to get cancer and you're worried about your toxins, we can get rid of them.
Man.
I mean, we can do all these things. You got heart disease in your family, and you know that toxins and microplastics. Did you know that if you have microplastics in your arteries, which 2 out of 3 guys do, your risk for heart disease goes up 450%?
I was actually going to bring up microplastics because I did
Yeah,
not know that. Artery, and that's 2/3 of men, or is it everyone?
that's right. Two
Has
thirds of everyone has microplastics in their artery, which is increasing their risk for heart disease by 450%.
and heart disease is the number one killer currently, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Wow.
Although the Alzheimer's and the cancers in the world are coming up fast,
That's what it
because
seems like.
we're
Yeah.
not seeing heart disease yet in the younger people, although it will be coming because of the obesity and everything. But we are seeing Alzheimer's at a 400% increase in the group under 50. And we're seeing the cancers at a huge increase, especially the gastrointestinal cancers, at a rapid rate that we can't even keep up with. Even though cancer therapies are prolonging people's lives and we're getting better at treating them in people who are older, these cancers that are occurring in these younger people are not the same cancers. These
Yeah.
are highly aggressive stage 4 terminal cancers that are presenting terminal.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
And
no
the
other way. Yeah.
and this is the part that I tell everybody: go get your. I mean, this is the first time ever the United States government and ever dropped the age requirement for colonoscopies to 45,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
were missing so many people between the age of 45 and 50, and then they dropped mammograms to 40, because we're
Wow.
missing so many breast cancers because of all the BPA and all the other estrogen blocking hormones. I mean, this is people, and if people like, autism, here's another thing that
That's a
they
big one.
talk about all the time. Autism used to be 1 in 2,500 kids back in 1960. It's now 1 in 36
Yeah.
kids today.
Yeah.
And
I've
you're
heard
saying
that's gone up.
that's because we're diagnosing it better. Bullshit.
Uh-huh.
That's because the most susceptible person on the planet is the unborn child. You expose the unborn child, we know that on average the unborn child is exposed to 270 chemicals, and they have microplastics in their first poop, their
Hmm.
meconium.
Yeah.
So we know that these toxins get across the barrier on a child that's in the developmental stage.
I want to pause for a moment and shout out another podcast on the HubSpot Podcast Network, your audio destination for business professionals. This one's called Og Mentors. It's hosted by Julie Mayer and Jimmy Edgerton. And these two, they're a pretty cool duo where one is, Jimmy is a lot more on the loose side. I would say that Julie brings it in and keeps us focused on mentoring and movement. And so these folks, they focus on mentoring and exploring ways on how to augment and refresh kind of like the way that mentoring is applied. And they have these principles that they weave into their episodes, and they give a bunch of practical tips, and they lace it with a whole bunch of humor as well. It's always cool when there's a cool duo happening there. So if you're in the mentoring space, or if you have a leadership space, relationship guidance and things like that, that's what the podcast is made for. So you'll get a lot for it. It's great for entrepreneurs, marketers, sales professionals. They love the show as well. It's a great one. I've checked it out and I recommend it. So go listen to Og Mentors wherever you get your podcasts. Hey, I'm going to do a quick shout out one more time for the thing I talked about at the top of the episode, which is the AI version of me and of this podcast and my YouTube videos and all these things. It all lives within this AI platform. I used Delphi.ai to create it. and I want you to use mine. It's totally free. Go to hustleandflowchart.com/AI Joe. That's hustleandflowchart.com/AI Joe. Test this thing out. It's crazy. You could type with it, talk with it. You can even use video, and you can look up anything from this podcast. You can ask a question about your business, life, any scenario. It kind of learns about you with the information you give it. It's rad. You will love it. And also, there's a lot of people who are asking, how do I get one of these? How do I build it out? The cool thing is my team and I have been building a ton of these every single day. I've used the platform, Delphi.ai, for 2 years. I'm actually one of their advisors because I was one of their first users and just gave them a ton of feedback. I love it. But we build these things. So if you want to use it for lead generation, for, you have all this content as an expert, author, coach type person, we can put that into this digital brain and make it interactive. You could use it for customer service, internal training for your team, for your organization, lots of uses. If you would like one of these, I can pass over an exclusive deal. There's no one else that's offering this out there. I work closely with Delphi as one of their partners, agency partners, to build this out. So hit me up, type hustleandflowchart.com/interest into whatever browser. Again, that's hustleandflowchart.com/interest, and hit me up. Let's build this thing together. All right, back to the episode. Does this even surprise you anymore?
I don't know if surprise or anger is a better word. I get frustrated when it's like, people, this is the data, and they're like, well, it's not the toxins. Well, what else could it be?
Yeah.
And the answer is, until recently, until we came up with the process of removing toxins, now we can actually start doing studies to see how prevalent the toxins are in causing this. Because to do a study, you got to do one of two things. Take two healthy groups and make one group toxin and watch them going forward, which is unethical. We're never going to do that.
Right.
Or take two groups that are toxin, make one toxin free, which we've never been able to do before until now, and then watch them go forward. Now we can start doing the studies on moving these things forward to show how dangerous the toxins are to every individual on every different plane.
Mm-hmm. So, this is just, it's a threat. It's this invisible threat, but it comes in many forms, like you described. I mean, it's literally in every piece of our environment. I mean, and so
but let's remember, Joe, blood pressure used to be an invisible threat.
True.
Diabetes used to be an invisible threat. It's invisible because we didn't measure it.
Yes, there wasn't
It's
data
not
behind
an invisible threat. We can measure it now.
Good point.
We can tell you what your microplastics are. We can tell you what your heavy metals, what your PFAs. We can tell you all this, and then we can tell you how to keep yourself clean, or if you need to, how to do plasmapheresis to get rid of this. Now, the one thing that our group did, and I'm working with 27 of the best national authorities on toxicology and functional medicine and apheresis. I got some of the most brilliant minds from Harvard and Johns Hopkins and and we're all working together on this project because we see the potential in this. We see the potential for the first time in our lifetime to reverse the toxic threat on people. And what we're noticing with our protocol, because our protocol is more than just plasma exchange, it's plasma exchange with avoidance and supplements and nutrients and other things that we have to do to optimize people's well-being. And because of that, we can, for the first time ever, give people a chance to proceed forward without the risk that these chemicals are posing on everyone.
That's right. So in the first episode, I know we talked a lot about the avoidance side of toxins. That was a big one, and you could revisit that. I'm curious if you could just because there's the avoidance side, but that obviously doesn't do what's already inside of you, and I want to then kind of turn the table and really go into what your plasma exchange protocol does. So let's start with the avoidance side, just high level.
Well, I mean, the avoidance side, real high level, is filter your water, filter your air, clean your food, get rid of the chemicals, and look at all your consumer products. And we'll have links for you that people can go on to our website and download all these guidebooks, because what we want to do is show you these simple steps for less than $5,000 if you did all of them, is going to clean up your environment incredibly well and prevent you and your kids and your loved ones from getting sick down the road.
Yes, that's good.
That's the big thing that we try to teach everyone. So the plasma exchange is something that is a little frightening to people because a lot of people haven't heard of it before.
Sure.
Plasma exchange is simply an oil change for humans. Now, if you want to get an old car clean that hasn't been, upkept for a while, you change the oil, put new oil in, run it around the block for a couple of weeks, take out the dirty oil again, put new oil in, run it around the block a couple of weeks, and keep doing this whole thing over and over until the oil starts running clean, correct?
Yep, yep, that's it.
Now, some of your younger kids may go, what do you mean oil change? But that's how you do an oil change on a car. And that's what you do before you do anything else on an old car, is you just keep changing the oil till you get it clean.
Cycling.
That's exactly what plasmapheresis is. You come into the office, you're here for a couple hours, we put an IV in, just like a plasma donation, we separate the blood into the two components, the cells and the plasma, which is the liquid part. We throw the liquid part away. We give you a different liquid part called albumin. We give it back to you. And then within 24 hours, your body, your cells, makes new, fresh, non-toxic, non-inflamed, pure plasma. And we basically gave you an oil change.
Wow.
And then we let you go run around for about 4 weeks. And then we bring you back and we do it again. And then we let you go out for about 4 weeks and you come back and we do it again. We do that 3 to 5 times, depending on how toxic you are. And that's what plasmapheresis is. It's been around for 50 years. It's used for 167 different disease states. People are like, why didn't I never hear about this before? Because it's not a primary therapy for anything. We use it for a third and fourth line therapy for things like Guillain-Barré, which is a paralyzing that comes from a virus, or long COVID is the most common one, or autoimmune problems. That's most commonly what we use plasma exchange for. And also, it's very important to realize when I'm talking about plasma exchange, I'm talking about plasma exchange with albumin, not with somebody else's plasma. So we're giving you a commercial product. We're not giving you a blood product.
And that's what I was going to ask is, can you define what albumin is? I looked it up. I want to hear it from you here. Yeah.
Albumin is the most common protein that you have in your body. And it's a carrier for a bunch of stuff because your blood is water. And there's a lot of things that are fat that float around. And they can hide inside albumin. So the albumin protects them so they can float through the river. But albumin also grabs toxins. And it wraps itself around them so that it doesn't interact with the body. So it's also
shielding it in a way.
Yeah. It's what we call sequesters. It kind of hides it away and traps it.
Gotcha.
But it also directs it into fat cells and tells the toxins to get out of the way and hides them different places too. So albumin is an incredibly important protein to people. Now, the albumin that we use is commercial albumin. So it's somebody who gave plasma, but it's been stomped on and purified and radiated and everything killed. And all we're giving you back is essentially the human protein part. So that's also what we call osmotic. So it means it sucks in water and it keeps the vascular space open until you make enough plasma the next day that you replace. Like I said, Joe, this procedure is safe, minimal side effects. It's been around for 50 years. There's a machine, and people can go to our YouTube page or our LinkedIn page, and they can see the whole video of what the machine looks like and what the whole process is like. Because you walk in and you hear this big whirling machine going on behind you. You're like, wow, what's going on here? And, your blood's leaving your body and getting clean and coming back in. But it's a real simple procedure. Matter of fact, I just had my 4th one done about 2 days ago. I got a little bruise here and a little tiny bruise here because I was the first patient 2 years ago that went through the process.
Wow.
I had 17 toxins above the 75 range. After 3 different plasma exchanges plus our protocol, I was down to 6. 6 months later, I was down to 4. A year later, I was down to 3. And then this one, 2 years, I'm at 2 years now, I'm down to 2. But the 2 that were remaining were PFAs, the forever chemicals, which don't come out short of plasma exchange. So we're training some new nurses because we have 6 new centers going live. And so they're trained here in Chicago. And so I volunteered to be one of the dummy guinea pigs. We'll get you on that next time.
I would love to. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm like, I will be getting this treatment. So I'll report back that as well. And I'm just thinking of what this can do. We mentioned microplastics, removing those from arteries. I can almost visualize that, just the idea of microplastics and like, oh, this can actually remove them. So, but obviously there's way more toxins than just microplastics floating around there.
In all honesty, hey, Dr. Savage, name the top 5 toxins that you're afraid of. Yeah. Microplastics are number 1.
Okay.
They're linked to everything bad. They come in all different sizes. They go down to the DNA size, what we call nanoparticles. And so they're interfering with the DNA. They're at its particle size, so that they're causing inflammation. They act as invaders, so they're suppressing the immune system. They act on all sorts of different levels. On every single level, they're bad for your cells.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure there's many toxins within the microplastics themselves,
Yeah,
right?
right now we can measure 9 different microplastics, and there's thousands of different microplastics in the universe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I started to learn about this from you guys and working with you. Yeah, and I had Ideal Living, Aqua True. You know, I had
Mhm.
one of the yeah, Helen from there. She was on the
Which
show.
is which is which is which is one of the ones we recommend.
I
If
remember.
you have an above the counter one, get Aqua True because
I
it really
do.
does
Yeah,
remove the vast majority of the toxins. And I only drink out of stainless steel. You got your stainless steel hard rubber top.
that's right.
This is clean canteen.
Yep.
Um, and we have a triple filter reverse osmosis here in the office. I have one at home. I have one in Brazil, and
Yep.
that's all. And I go everywhere with my water. I don't drink
Absolutely.
water because water is your number one toxin
Mm,
nowadays.
number one. Wow.
Then food, the food is next, and then your environment, air in your house is third. And people don't realize, but
Jeez.
the air inside your office and the air inside your home is 500 times, 500% worse than the air outside.
Huh, 500. Is that just because cycling through all the different things it's passing through machines?
Partly because we use chemicals in the house and they stay on the floor and the walls and then they slowly seep off into the air. The other
Mm,
part is every fabric has chemicals like phthalates and they just slowly
mm,
stink up the air around you too.
yeah.
Then there's the mold and mold spores and mold seeds, and they just circulate. There's everything in your house. You close up your house, you crank up the heat, and now you're in a sweat box with chemicals. You're literally sucking them into your body with all the heat and the way that you're increasing the surface, the surface tension and the absorption of your skin by dilating all the veins. And you're breathing it in. It's all respiratory. You're swallowing it. It's going through your gut. And I tell people all the time, if you're going to do anything, and you can't afford much, buy a HEPA filter for your bedroom because at least that's 8 hours of your day
Ooh,
in one
true.
room that you're going to be in. So that's if you're going to only can afford a HEPA for one room, put it in your bedroom. If you got two, you can afford two, put the other one in your office.
Hmm. I
And
need to get one of
whenever you
those.
can,
Yeah.
open the doors, open the windows, and
Yep.
air it out because the air outside is safer than the air inside.
Hmm. That's a great takeaway right there. I'm gonna go buy a couple more HEPA filters. I actually moved mine from my room to my infant at the time. She's a 1 year old now. I'm like, okay, got to give you the fresh air. Yeah.
So let me give you the real exciting news of what we're doing. We got some really good developments in the last 2 months.
Cool. Hit me.
We've now taken the plasma procedure because we don't do just plasma exchange. We teach people avoidance. We have supplements. We have different medication that makes it 200% better than just plasma exchange alone. And we have the data. It's going to be published here very shortly in a peer-reviewed major journal. We're looking at probably next month that we have 3 articles coming out on heavy metal, microplastics, and environmental toxins.
Whoa.
But
Okay.
what our group did is, okay, now we got the toxins out. We know it causes Alzheimer's. We know it causes brain dysfunction, neurodegenerative disease. Why don't we take some patients and why don't we take the toxins out and then why don't we start doing some regenerative therapies afterwards? Here's how it works. All of these neurodegenerative diseases are basically a fight, a battle that's going on inside, let's say, the brain over toxins versus your immune system, with your brain cells being the damaged collateral.
Yeah.
But as long as the battle's going on and the fire is raging, the healing can't take place. The foresters don't go in to plant the trees when the trees are on fire.
Right.
That's why this all you get is this degeneration. We've known from a study in 2020 on Alzheimer's that they gave people TPE with Alzheimer's, and 62% of them did not progress in their disease for over a year.
Hmm.
It basically stalled the progression of Alzheimer's. We don't even have a drug that does that at this point.
No. Yeah.
But they do have it with a serial plasma exchange. So we base our protocol on that, plus the supplements and neuropeptides and other things that regenerate the cells afterwards. And we've had 6 patients so far that we've improved their memory score over 40%.
Memory score. Wow. So literally
Their
bringing down.
their cognition. We do it by what's called the CNS vital sign. It's a validated test where we measure your cognition, your verbal memory, your visual memory, your motor skills, all these different things. And we've seen a 40% improvement in neurocognition, flexibility, executive function, and memory.
Wow. So if we're talking about
Because
like just entrepreneurs listening, I mean, this is like a total performance reboot.
not only do we know that taking the toxins out will slow the progression and onset of the disease, early in the disease, we appear to have the ability to remove these toxins, turn off the fire, repair the cells, and we're a year out, And our gentleman who's a year out just did his CNS vital score and with an 18% further improvement in his medical in his memory score. Now,
Yeah.
this is observational data, but we have this for cognitive decline. We've taken 6 patients with early cancer markers. We've reverted all of them to negative within 3 treatments. We've taken people who have HIV and their CD4 counts are falling under 400 on medications, and we've been able to increase their CD4 counts to 700 by just doing plasma exchange.
My
We've
gosh.
taken people with early heart disease, or not, sorry, advanced heart disease, who are maxed out on their medicine and still progressing because of inflammation and oxidation. We've been able to neutralize that and show regression in the soft plaque.
Yeah.
So not only can we stop the progression and the threat of toxins early on, it looks and it appears from our observational data that we can actually reverse the damage once we turn the toxins off. Now, disclaimer, this is all observational data on our patients. And we are, however, the great news, we've just been approved for our research arm. It's a IRB non-for-profit. So we have a company being set up where people will come and donate. We need about $3 million to prove that we can reverse early cognitive decline, which we know we can do.
Oh yeah.
We need $2.7 million to prove we can remove toxins from all the moms before they get pregnant with their kids.
Yep. Yep. Oh
We
my
need
gosh.
$2.6 million to prove that we can get toxins out of everybody at every stage. I mean, it's the amount of money needed to look at these disease states for the first time and go, we have a solution here that's going to cost a couple $1 million. We're very excited because we have a lot of people looking to contribute tax-free dollars to
Oh yeah.
this research arm. The data is compelling. We have a data research company that published all of our data out of the University of Chicago, as an off branch of them. I don't touch the data. It goes to them. They do all of our analysis. They do all our paper writing. They've been studying Alzheimer's and heart disease for 40 years. They have said publicly that they've never seen changes that we've been showing in the last 2 years in the area of heart disease and Alzheimer's. We have a neurologist from Jacksonville who's very well known with a very prestigious football team who said he's never seen these kind of reversals in his patients. We have 3 different cardiologists that are saying they've never seen changes like this in what we're doing with the people with end-stage cardiovascular disease. We have HIV doctors who said they've never seen anybody like this, where we've increased their CD4 counts, doubled it within about 4 months, and a year later, these people are still at these levels. We have an obstetrics doctor who has publicly said she is absolutely certain we removed the toxins from mom, you're going to have a toxin-free baby, which what does that mean? Maybe it means less autism rate,
Yeah.
less ADHD, less spectrum disease. We all
Yeah.
think that we're on to something huge here, because if the toxins are the cause of chronic inflammation, and they are,
Hmm.
once you remove them, you turn off chronic inflammation, you turn off chronic inflammatory diseases, which is everything bad.
Inflammation's horrible. Yeah, that is the thing. And you can do as much as you can with food, and you should. But when you're talking
But
about
if you
food,
don't get the toxins out, you don't turn off the fire.
mm,
This is what we've known for a long time. I can give you supplements, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatories, which negate the inflammation and the oxidation, but it doesn't take care of the fact that the toxins are there causing the damage.
oh man, yeah,
The only way to do that is to get the toxins out, and then the inflammation and oxidation go away anyway.
I could see. I was going to ask you, hey, do you have any, big transformation, things that you just gave me about 20 or 30. I don't know how many that was, and I'm so excited about the nonprofit side of testing because I think that's going to help get the word out. I mean,
Right.
if anyone listening, watching, I mean, go find, go reach out to mdlifespan.com. And, if you want to get involved, I'm just saying this on your
Well,
behalf.
I'll point them to the non-for-profit. That's a separate organization that's managing the donation and the research funding. I don't have anything to do with it.
Oh,
I'm
cool.
the guy that they pay to do the plasma exchange, but
Gotcha.
we're doing it we're doing it at not profit at this point, because we just want our physicians. Like I said, we're opening 6 new centers in the next 2 months. We have 20 centers that we're doing in this whole year, and our whole group has dedicated themselves to make sure. We're a public benefit corporation, by the way. That's
Yep.
how serious we are about serving the public. We will not make a profit. We will serve the public. This is so many doctors and so many centers. We don't want to make a profit. We want to show that we can make an impact for the first time in our life on the greatest existential threat to mankind, which is the toxin. So I have just a group of doctors who are real excited and thrilled to be able to say we're part of something here that nobody's ever seen before.
Oh yeah. Well, and this is why, I mean, partially I just want to see you on more podcasts. I want to see you on more media because of what you're talking about. And I'm just going to say it right
Right.
here because, if this is landing with anyone listening, because I know a lot of you are watching, have your own media. And this isn't something that's just this is a medical topic or this is like, why does he have him on this entrepreneurial business show? It's for humans.
Three of the top mold doctors in the country now recommend MD Lifespan for their patients who have mold toxicities.
Good, good.
I mean, so it's like, and these are the people that for years were told, it's not real. You don't have it. You're just tired. You're just malingering. And I used to be one of those docs 30 years ago. They used to
Sure.
tell these people, this is bullshit. And now I look at all these patients, I've seen them for 30 years, and I realize how wrong we were to classify them. And whether it's mold toxicity or people with chronic Lyme's or people with chronic infections, the problem with most of the people, like with HIV patients, is their immune system has been so crippled by the
Yeah.
toxins
Yeah.
that they can't mount the proper defense. And there's plenty of research out there to show this is true. There was a study where they gave people arsenic,
Mhm.
and then 90 days later, 90% were better. They gave them lime. 90 days later, 90% were better. They gave them lime and then arsenic. 90 days, 90% were better. But then they gave them arsenic and then lime. And 90 days later, 90% of them are sick with chronic fatigue.
Whoa.
Because once the arsenic knocks out the immune system and then you give them an infection, that's the setup for chronic fatigue. And you won't get people out of chronic fatigue, infectious chronic fatigue, by just treating the Lyme. You got to treat the toxin
Right.
first, because that's what came first.
Ah, okay. And I'm sure that's the storyline for all these toxins, is
For all these toxins, the
that makes
toxins come
sense.
first, and then people get an immune suppressant. The toxin comes first, and then they get cancer. The toxin comes first, then they get neurodegenerative. Here's the magic sentence: toxins take you out where your DNA is the weakest.
Yep.
So if your family history is cancer, that's what the toxins are going to do for you. If
Got
your
it.
family history is Alzheimer, that's what the toxins are going to do for you. If your family history is heart disease, that's what they're going to expedite, because that's what chronic inflammation does,
That's right.
the expression of that disease in you.
I gotcha. Yeah. Because there's, in my family and also my wife's family, there are a couple markers that, after working or as we've been working together and everything, I keep listening and thinking and learning. I'm like, we both need this, the plasma exchange. And I mean, there's just so many other folks that just have no clue this is even possible.
Honestly, Joe, you may or may not need plasma exchange. It depends on what your toxic level and what your DNA is.
Gotcha.
But you don't know unless you measure.
There you go.
That
Yeah.
that's the point. I mean, just like you might need diabetic medicine or diabetic therapy, you might or might not need medicine for your blood pressure or different. You don't know until you measure it. The message I want to make sure all the entrepreneurs here, for everybody who cares about their family, loved one, and everybody about them, is go get your toxins tested. I don't care where. You can come to our website. We have a very comprehensive test. Plus, it involves 30 minutes with one of our doctors, not staff members, not nurse. You get our doctors to talk to you for 30 minutes about what that means for you.
Got it.
But you don't know until you measure.
So everybody, go measure yourselves. I'm getting mine done. I'll report back, and I know there's a little special deal that your team is working on as well.
Yeah,
And
always for your team. Always for
yeah, I
your team. There's going to be a
appreciate it.
code that there'll be 100% off or $100 off that, whatever that code is. My,
Whatever it
my,
is.
my
Yeah.
team works great with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's either showing on the screen, probably there, and it'll be linked up. It'll be easy to find. So jump on that. There might even be a limit. Who knows? But either way, Savage and the crew are hooking you up. Now, I'm curious, what's the bigger vision of what you can tell us with MD Lifespan? Because obviously it plucked you out of retirement. It's only
Yes.
becoming more of a thing. It's in the media. What's driving you, let's say for the next decade, if you feel like that's
I don't, I'll be honest with you. This is not my first startup. This is my
sure.
third. I expect to be here about another 2 years before we're taken over by somebody bigger, because I'm not going to be able to carry this as an individual or my team to where it needs to go. Where does it need to go? It needs to end up in traditional medicine so that every obstetrics doctor has an apheresis center for the women who need it. Every cardiologist has an apheresis center for their heart patients who need it. Every neurologist has an apheresis center for all of their cognitive issue patients who need it. Not everybody needs plasma exchange, but if you have high toxin levels and a significant DNA, or you have high toxin levels and you're already showing inflammation, oxidation, or worse yet, you have high toxin levels and you're already showing the symptoms of a disease.
Mm-hmm.
You probably need plasma change because we don't have that much time to mess around. We have to reverse that before it goes further. So our goal and all the doctors that we're working with, and we're into 170 some odd doctors at this point, with 26 of them as advisors, is we all are going to be taking all this research, all of our effort to change people's lives so that we can show that we can put this into a process that becomes more affordable. We can do it quicker. We can do
Cool.
it better. We can do it faster. We can do it cheaper so that the people that need this, Medicare is going to pay for it because the government put us into this problem.
That's
The
right.
government we need to as a population because we're all responsible for not electing the right people to keep
Mm.
us out of this problem. So we need to take care of the people who we put into danger. And that means we think we probably can get this whole process down considerable amount.
Awesome.
But we're
Good.
going to need, but we're going to need numbers and we're going to need population to change. So why do I know this can happen? Because in 2000, I was behind the group of doctors that was working on testosterone to get it out of the Anti-Steroid Act into the hand of guys who had low testosterone, which we did successfully. But we did it because the public was behind us.
Yeah.
That's what
Awareness.
changed everything.
Yeah.
Awareness is the whole key here. Talking to your population, your entrepreneurs, getting them so they're talking to their employees, their cohorts, so we can all start working together with acknowledging that we have a problem. And as Stephen Hawking said, we passed that milestone 10 years ago in 2015. And so we're already behind. Everybody's toxic. And if you're not taking care of this problem today, I promise you, it will take care of you tomorrow. And not in the way you
Right.
want.
But it's true. Yeah. And this is the
But
message we all need
if you
to.
look at the statistics just in the cancer from 2 to 17 to 30, it's escalating up. Next year it's going to be higher. We don't have a lot of time moving forward here before this becomes overwhelming in America.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. I'm gonna ask you one more question, but I want to direct people definitely go to mdlifespan.com because there are, and of course I have the links below and all that, but your website has a ton of information. You can see that there's a cool video actually on the whole oil change concept as well, and so many other things that you guys do. So go check that out. And I want to ask you, like, is there a question that I have not asked you during this chat here or the previous one that you feel like is the most crucial for people to really understand about this whole toxin crisis? Something that we might have missed here.
No, I think you've done real good. I think a couple of the myths I always talk about is number one, nobody has just one. Everybody has a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have mold toxins. Sure you do. Plus you have other things. So we need to get out of this. I had this toxin and that toxin for the people who know it and understand we're all multi chemicals at this point. Number two, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know the danger. And that's the step that everybody has to do. Number three, even if you don't know your numbers, go protect yourself. Spend the time. It's not a lot of hard reading. We give you directed, like the AquaTrue, the rain salt. We will tell you these are the ones we know from Consumer Report or from our clinical trials that work in providing protection for you and your loved ones. Do that now, no matter where you are.
Got it.
And finally, the last one is if you got questions, go to the website, schedule a call, talk to one of our docs. We're there for you. There's no charge for the call. We just want to be able to provide to the consumer, to our friends, to other entrepreneurs, the answers that they really need to understand. We're a very database oriented company. We believe in the numbers, but we believe in the numbers to help people.
Dr. Paul Savage, I'm so happy that you've come out of retirement and you've done this whole startup. I know it's not easy. And, I've worked with a crew and I know you guys are busting ass all the time. I mean, everybody is.
The thing is, when the universe gave me this idea,
Yeah.
it's not like I had a choice, Joe.
No.
I mean, I sat there and realized that, oh my God, I know how to get rid of the toxins. I know how to get rid of, and that was something we've been struggling with for 30 years. And something I knew the answer. And it's like, yeah, I'm just going to pretend I didn't have that thought and go on living. It's like, it wasn't going to happen that way. Seriously, it wasn't. I went to my husband and said, hey, we got to do this. He's like, yep. Then I called my marketing woman and I said, hey, she goes, I'm on board. And I called my tech person. I'm on board. Called my finance people. They're like, can you do this? I said, I've been sure on the other stuff I've done. I've never been so sure as I am on this project.
Wow.
On the timeliness, the effectiveness. We have done nothing but exceed our expectations every step of the way. We are on the right track.
Yeah.
We have a solution that we can provide to people. We just need to get further down the road with the research, with the numbers. We need the support of the government. We need support of entrepreneurs everywhere. But the best thing
Awareness.
I want to do is just increase the awareness. That's
That's
what
right.
we need.
Yeah, you'll get it. You are getting it. And I think you're riding the wave at the right time where people are starting
Yeah,
to be open to the concept as well.
yeah,
And inserting yourself in there as a complete game changer. I mean, that's how it's been ever since I've learned about it more and more. So there you go.
yeah.
I'll urge everyone again, follow the path. We've already shouted out a bunch of times, and it's up to you. It's your choice. Right. So, all right, Dr. Paul, I appreciate you so much. I'm happy we did this
Thanks, Joe.
again, and I'm likely do it again because all these updates, man.
Do your test. Do your test. Do your test. It'll
I will. I'm
be
reporting back.
revealing. Be revealing. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.